Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to learn about constructors. So constructors are kind of a special instruction which creates the object. For example, I am sharing here the screen along with the title constructor. So here if you can see, here the car is getting constructed and they are constructed using special robots. These robots are designed. They have been fetched special instruction on how to combine the parts and how many wheels, and you can see here how they can use different kinds of other parts, like they can combine together. So these are like special instructions. So in Julia also we can pass special instructions whenever we are creating any structs or any objects. So it comes up, for example, in Julia, if we want to create any toy car, so here it is the real car, but if you want to create any toy car, then what we can do, we can provide the special instruction to our Julia and we can first give that to robot and it will be able to create. So let's see with the example. For example, what I will do here is that I'll create struct and then toy car. Here what we can do, we can use color, which is string, and what we can do is that we can use wheels. This is very simple example and I'll end it here. Cool. Now what we can do to create a constructor, it is very simple. Creating constructor is simple, just like writing function. So what we have to do, function make new car, and what we will pass here is that we will pass color, and which will be equals to string, and then we can pass like wheels, which will be part of it. Now what we can do here is that we will new car equals to, we can just say toy car, and then color equals to color, or we can directly pass in wheels. This is the constructor here. We are putting the parts together. Now what we can do, we can just return the new car, and this is the end. So we have created the new car. Let's see what we can do. Car1 equals to make new car. So we want color equals to teal, and wheel, okay, this will fail because we are using wheel and wheels. So now it is should work. Wheels equals to 4. No method matching color wheels. Got unsupported keyboard argument. Okay, yeah. So what we are doing here is that we're passing keyboard argument, but it's not a keyboard argument because it's not we haven't used comma. So yeah, this is how like toy car is now created. Again, we can use default argument also. So for example, I can write another struct which is like, for example, it's not a toy car, it's a real car. Color we can pass. We can also pass wheels, and then we can see like we can put nitro, which default value it should be bool, and end. Now what we want is that it's a racing car. So when we are creating a racing car, we will also have to create function to for the constructor. So this is constructor. Now function, what we have to do here is that make real car, and we'll only pass here color, and wheels, which is a type of int. Now what we can do is that it is a racing car, so we'll do racing car real car, and it comes with a nitro, color, wheels, and nitro is true. What we can do, we can by default add here. Okay, we can keep here as well or here as well. Let me put here nitro and then equals to true. True is small. Now we can just add nitro here. Return racing car. We can return is optional because the last, if the last expression is statement, then it should return automatically. So we can do now racing car 1 equals to make real car, and then we can color equals to okay, we haven't used keyboard argument. We'll use hot red, just tomato red. Wheels is 4. Let's see. It is saying cannot convert an int of object type string. Okay, so we have passed here a string. Let me just convert it as int. Now it should work. So if you see here, like we have created a, like this is kind of a constructor for our real car. So this is constructors are like special recipes uh, which we can pass it to Julia for the structure object, and it should create us like this kind of objects automatically. Now let's see some like more example and the benefits of constructor. So there are like mainly three types of constructor. So one is an default constructor, one is outer constructor. We have looked at outer constructor here, and one is inner constructor. So we'll go one by one. So three types of constructors. So we'll look at, first is, let me hide this one. First is default constructor. Default constructor, we have already looked at it. So let's see how we can do that. So simply we have to create object. So I'm creating struct point and x int and y int. Now I need to create a point 3,4. So this is our default constructor. We don't need to do anything. We have to just create. So we have to pass in the argument. So the next is outer constructor. So outer constructor, we have already looked at it in our previous example. So this example is kind of an outer constructor. So for this, like what we can do extra in outer constructor, let me show what are the advantages of using constructor, like when you are using constructor. So what we can do here is that we will use struct. We will create a rectangle and length, which is int, height or width, which is also int, and I'll end this. Now what we can do, we can have the function create rectangle. Now I'll pass in length int and width also int. Here what we'll do is length is equal to 0, is less than or equal to 0, or width is less than or equal to 0. Then we will throw the error. Width and height should be non-negative. Else we will create the rectangle. We'll just use rectangle and length width. Let's see what happens now. New rectangle box equals to create rectangle, and then length I can use 3 and width I can use 4. Well, this works, but like if, for example, some user is trying to create the rectangle which is of 0 0, let's see what happens. Okay, it fails. And if I use non-negative value -1 and 3, then also it will fail. So this is how we can help while creating object. Constructor are useful for some basic checks when we are creating to execute the recipe. Another good example would be like, for example, as I'm calling recipe here, another good example would be to create the recipe itself. So I'll use struct and then recipe. So what I can do is that, one second. So what I can do is that I can create struct recipe. What we can do in this case, what all we can have is that name of the recipe, and then we can use ingredients. Ingredients would be vector and it would be string, and we can use servings. Servings is also, serving should be an int. Okay, cool. I have created now the recipe struct. Now we will create function with the same name, recipe. So ideally this should be the way we can use the same name with the function. Yeah, so what we can do is that name is string and ingredients is vector string. Now vector like is the array of single dimension with the string, so the same type. Now we can do create the servings automatically. If length of the ingredients, yeah, is less than or equal to 3, then what we can do, serving should be 2, else serving should be 4. Now we can just return the recipe and then name, ingredients, and then servings. Yeah, now let's see how it works. Okay, multiple definition of recipe in a single reactive cell. So what we can do in this case, just use create recipe. Cool. Now we'll just use first recipe is, for example, pasta. So recipe 1 equals to recipe, and then pasta. We can have ingredient pasta. I don't know. Let me just eggs, bacon, and then cheese. Okay, cool. Now let me just enter. Okay, what's the error? No method matching dot recipe. Okay, okay. This string should be. So yeah, so we had to use small cap string rather than caps. So yeah, this is working now. We can have another recipe, recipe 2, create recipe, and what we can do here is that salad. Let me add some of the ingredient cucumber. I'll use simple recipe now because earlier it was having issue. and tomato. So it is automatically creating the servings as 2 if you see here. So this is how outer constructor works. Now let's look at inner constructor. Okay, it is third. Now to have an inner constructor, it's really simple. So we will create a struct with student, and I'll use here name to be string and age. So we'll be using student now to be int. Now we have to create inner constructor directly goes inside the struct inner constructor. What I can do here is that function and then student name age. So if age is less than or equal to 0, then we can throw the argument error, which is I need to use age should be positive, and let's see, like student should be greater than 3, or yeah, 3 years. So age should be positive and student should be greater than 3 years. Okay, and this else what I do here is that I return new name and age. Let's see how it works. Okay, so first student is Rosa. We'll do student name is Rosa Harriet and age is 3. Okay, it should be greater than 4. It is working. And another student is Sam. Student Sam Gilbert, and if by mistake we enter 0 or 2 or 3, then it should be. So this is how it works. So inner construction, I would suggest, like when you want to automatically bind like the constructor, when you want to make some changes at the time of creation of struct or objects, then you should use inner constructor, else like outer constructor is also very good. I will include movie in my notes. There is another example of using movie as a similar constructor. You can try like create a struct movie and then try to see that if the movie is before and year, like in IMDb, if it is before 1900, then it should fail, or if it is like if the year is greater than now, then also it should fail, because release movie should be early. So try to create. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.